morning, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem, editor via Michigan.com, a digital business magazine serving the Arab American communities in Michigan. We provide business and real estate news, loan and lending information, support to small businesses, and much more. Visit us at Michigan.com. It's a cool fall day, and we hope that you're having a great start to your day and weekend. Actually, I really don't complain. I have no complaints about the weather this week, and hopefully it stay like this for a while. It's supposed to be a little bit colder, but it is not. And I think yesterday was in the 60s, which is really good. On behalf of ESR Radio, we wish you the best of time, peace, and happiness. We thank our sponsors, listeners, and supporters. We have a great program for you today. We will be talking about the economy, the war in Gaza, the deer hunting season, and success in the community. In our community, one of our community members have been appointed a judge. We will talk to him later in the program. First, the economy. Prices are falling, and the Feds did not raise interest rates this time. Are we and have we tackled inflation or somewhat? Are those good signs? With us this morning is Dr. Vivek Singh. He's a professor of economics at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. Good morning. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Khalil, for having me.
Absolutely. I know you're traveling, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Thank you again.
Absolutely. The year is almost over, and things seems to be a little bit different. I think people are spending a little bit less, if I understand it correctly. Are those good signs? Where are we going from here?
Yeah, Khalil, absolutely. You're right on dot, actually. The things are looking way better than how we started this whole year, actually. So not so time back, like maybe 6 months back, people were talking about recession happening. But right now, nobody's talking about recession happening. And the prime reason why this has been achieved is because of the price decrease that Fed has been able to achieve.
Is it because of the interest rates?
Absolutely. So the increase of interest rates, like from almost nothing to like 5.5%, has really made a difference. And I think in addition to that, there are a lot of other factors also which have contributed to decline in the inflation. Say things like, we knew that part of the inflation was due to the COVID-induced supply gums up, which happened in the supply chain. So that did contribute to the inflation on the supply side. Then we had the war in Russia, and that also contributed to this. And high energy prices, again, that contributed to this whole thing. But in addition to that, like we also had all those demand side pressures, like federal government like pumped in trillions of dollars literally in the economy, and a lot of people stayed out of work. So adding to the demand pressure, wage pressure.
Yeah.
So all those things seem to have subsided. But I think the big thing which led to all this is the Federal Reserve action in the last year and a half. From almost nothing, like they raised it to like 5.5%, and now we are really seeing that helping to reduce the inflation. Yeah.
Do we, if things continue to be going like this, should we expect the Feds to cut interest rates?
So, Khalil, I think, in my opinion, and as I've read, I think it's too early to say that whether Fed should be cutting the interest rates. I think any sort of cut would not happen, at least in the US, until May or June next year. At best, what they can do is probably they will put a pause. As they did last time also, they will continue not to raise interest rates with the idea that they're watching the numbers.
Sure.
If the numbers continue to look good, I think they have no reason to to increase interest rates, but pause it. And if they start seeing things really go downwards, like in terms of economy, the job numbers start looking bad, and then definitely like they have reasons to like cut the interest rate. But my guess is like this would not happen until spring or maybe summer next year.
Normally cutting the rates is to stimulate the economy, to encourage people to borrow more.
Yeah. So the consumer spending has gone down very recently. We see that the job market is still strong, but it's not as strong as it was earlier. So it's cooling off a little bit. The wage increases are going down a little bit. So given all that, it's pointing to a like an economy which is going to be less robust than what it is right now. So
Sure.
depending on if it really goes really bad, so then absolutely that I think the Federal Reserve has to step in. But looks like I think what you have been hearing this word about soft landing, we are heading towards some sort of soft landing where the inflation has been brought down, but without causing much damage to the economy.
Which is a good sign.
Absolutely. So I mean it's it has never happened before actually. So that's why nobody expected this to happen. So everybody was expecting that when the Federal Reserve starts raising interest rate, recession is going to happen. But
Yeah.
they have achieved something which has never happened before. So that's why we are all shocked. I mean, it's a pleasant surprise for all of us that
Yeah.
inflation is down, but the economy is still not looking way too bad. Consumers are still spending, maybe not at the same rate as they were doing earlier, and the job market is still holding up.
That's good. Now, next year being a presidential election year, normally the Feds are in their best behavior, which means it could, because they want to continue that good economy. You know, it's election year. That also should help the economy at least in the short term.
Khalil, in my opinion, I think as far as the US Federal Reserve is concerned, they are quite independent. So I don't think they would try to please the bosses in the White House that, okay, you are coming up for re-election, so we should help you out. I think their focus is going to be totally on inflation numbers.
Sure.
Yeah, but it looks like as if that like I think things are going to be good. So regardless of whether the elections are coming up or not, like I think Federal Reserve is going to do the right thing, and the things will still be good despite what they do.
Yeah. What I meant by the Feds, actually, I should have said it was the White House itself would try not to embark on anything drastic to really shake the economy during election year.
Yeah, Khalil, that's correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean yeah.
You know, the war in the Middle East, if it takes a bad turn, that could affect the
Yeah.
economy as far as fuel cost.
Absolutely, I totally couldn't agree more, Khalil. So these are some of the headwinds, like possible headwinds on the horizon, like especially if the war were to spread. I mean, if it goes beyond Israel and Gaza, if it spreads to other Middle East countries, we will definitely see a hike in the oil prices, and that would definitely impact inflation, which is not going to be a good sign.
You know, the government pumped in a lot of money into the hands of people during the pandemic, and
Yeah.
that contributed largely to inflation because people had a lot of money. They didn't work; they just spent it, and some of them, you know, some people saved it, but most of it spent it. These spending habits. Is there a fear that people right now are running a lot of debts?
Khalil, I think as of now, I think that is not really a concern because I think I was reading the numbers very recently. I think a lot of that money has been spent, but there is still households are still sitting on quite a pile of savings from those times on account of two things. Well, one was they got a lot of money for free in some sense that stimulus checks came in the banks without they doing anything, and secondly, like they didn't have avenues to spend. Like they could buy products like through Amazon, but they didn't go to the restaurants, they couldn't go to this watch the games, they couldn't spend money on the services. So the combination of
Sure.
like yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of pent up demand, so and they had a lot of money, they didn't have avenues to spend, so they are spending. But my guess is I think we don't have to worry about a debt crisis, a household debt crisis as yet, but it eventually would. It will come. I mean, if the interest rate, especially the housing cost, I mean that has gone up substantially, and like in the sense that like the house prices have become almost
Yeah.
beyond the reach of most people.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the,
You know, I was taking a look the other day. Every week I take a look at how many HUD
yeah,
homes are being offered for sale.
yeah,
As you well know, HUD homes, these are homes that have been guaranteed by the government and people have defaulted on them.
yeah.
And for the past couple of years, I would find 2 to 3 a week. Now I'm starting to see 40 and 50 a week.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really alarming number. And I'm not talking about bank foreclosures. I'm talking about only HUD foreclosures. And which means bank foreclosures are going to follow because those takes longer to they have 11 months and then you have 6 months redemption period and so forth and so on. So we expect to see more, and I'm wondering if it is a spending habits or bad management or whatever it is really, are we looking into, more people are going to have money issues down the road, even though the economy is good and unemployment is low.
Yeah. Khalil, I think it's a great question, Khalil. Even I'm puzzled as to why, when the economy is good, they had a lot of savings, the consumers. I think definitely like some of these people, like my guess is a minority of these people must have overspent,
Yeah,
and and they might have like bitten off more than they could chew, like in terms of buying bigger homes, thinking that they would be able to afford these kind of mortgages when the interest rates were very, very low. Even though like these people, like if they did buy those homes with the fixed interest rates, they should still have those low interest rates. But
sure, sure.
yeah, it's very puzzling as to why
Yeah,
this is happening.
yeah. I think you mentioned a good point. I mean, as you well know, I work in real estate.
Yes.
And what happened is that in many cases, people paid more for their homes than the homes were really worth. For example, we would put an offer on a home for 250, and then we had people beating us by $40,000 in cash. They had that kind of cash. What
Mhm.
these people really didn't know, and I did discourage all of my clients to do that and say, you do not want to do that because you're raising the value, you're raising the cost of your home by money that you're spending out of your own pocket, and it's not going to come back to you as market value. And that led to them being, because that's going to raise their taxes too. And
Correct.
today the average tax on a new uncapped home in the most of the cities is between $7,000 and $8,000 a year, that's an added $600-700 a month to their mortgage. The problem with that is people don't see it right away. It takes a whole year for it to uncap, and then if they don't really have that income, and if they're not motivated to go to work, they're gonna default, and maybe this is where this is coming from.
Yeah, Khalil, I think you are the expert on real estate, actually. So it's very puzzling. I mean, given the way the overall economy is behaving, but I mean, this issue, like the housing will show up, like it's much more than the gas prices and the food expenses. I mean, it's going to take time, but it will become. I mean, that's a. I mean, even if we are able to control all these prices, I mean, if the house prices remain so high, if the mortgage rates remain so high, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
people have nothing to celebrate, actually, if you ask me honestly. Like, okay,
Sure, sure.
the inflation battle has been won, but like the most important thing, which most people care about, the house, if they can't afford a house, that's a cause for concern.
Yes. What should we expect in the first quarter of the year?
I think the things, I mean, we had a tremendous GDP number like in the last quarter. Definitely, this is going to go down. I think we are not expecting like no more than 1% GDP growth in the entire 2024, actually. So the numbers are going to be way down, like starting like the end of this year and going forward next year. And the big reason is basically that higher interest rates are eventually affecting the demand from the consumers, as we saw very recently, that after
Sure.
so many months of increases, they have come down. And all this higher borrowing costs for businesses, for consumers, in terms of they not being able to buy those big ticket items or homes. And this will definitely impact the labor market. So I think the things are going to be looking little more bleak than they've had like in the past.
Sure. One thing that hasn't come down and people continue to spend on, and that's eating out. I was looking at some statistics the other day. It's like, my God, people still have money to go. I don't know. You've been eating out recently, I went out a few times. It's like price. I mean, I went to this place. I had 2 pieces of desserts and 2 coffees for $30. It's like, wow. Well, we used to have a meal for $30. It's just amazing, these prices at eating out, but people seems to be going out and still eating out. And I hope they're not using credit cards.
Yeah, I think, Khalil, I totally agree. I mean, I saw the same thing. Like, it's all based on anecdote, as well as I think that it shows up in the big macroeconomic numbers too, actually, that, this eating out, I think this is this is one thing that we missed out during the COVID. So people are trying to make up for this.
Yeah.
And all that excess saving they've had, like, I think that is going there. It's still, at the end of the day, compared to, say, like home rental or home mortgage, is still relatively small percentage of your income. So people are not paying much attention to that. But I agree, these prices are up. So the inflation coming down, that doesn't mean that the absolute level of prices has come down. These prices are still very high. I mean, they haven't come down, and I don't think they will ever come back.
That's the problem when the prices go up, is most of them do not come down, and if they do, they come down very little. And, and this really is really affecting seniors, is affecting people on limited income. I mean, they did receive some help from the government, but that has dried out, and Congress is being a little bit more fiscally tight, trying to cut spending as much as possible. I could see those numbers or those dollars going away. So, these people are going to be squeezed more, I think, next year than this year. Do you agree?
Absolutely, Khalil, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the people who are going to be affected the most are going to be the people who are at the low end of the economic ladder, like people like pensioners, people who are, they don't have like decent income. Like, for them, like the amount of money they spend on these kinds of items, the essential items, the gas and the grocery bills, are big percentage of their whole income. And if these prices will remain, I mean, they started to, I mean, the inflation has started to come down, but the prices haven't gone down. So, like, and if the economy goes into a bit of a tailspin, if the incomes they don't keep up with the prices, I think they're going to be squeezed a lot more. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I think that this is the time they should be saving money.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Yeah.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. That's going to be my next question. What should the average person do at this time? Inflation has been tackled a little bit. There's still some money in hand, and I think we're spending less. Should we save more, or what should we do as an average person?
So, Khalil, like, I think my advice to an average person would be that since the economy is not going to be as robust as it has been in the past, so I think the most prudent thing for an average person to do is like start saving a little more, then start spending, build up some rainy day fund. And right now, saving is not a bad idea given the kind of interest rates you can enjoy in a bank. It makes a lot more sense. And even though we're saying that inflation is coming down, but the battle is yet far from over. Sure. So there are still there are all kinds of possibilities out there. Like example we talked about, Khalil, as you said, the war in Israel and Gaza. Like, if that spreads out, that's going to impact the energy prices. Then there is always a possibility of another financial crisis happening. Like, in the middle of all this, we had the Silicon Valley Bank going under. So we don't know like which other the financial crisis is going to come along. And and the job market's getting tighter, and the prices, even though coming down but remaining still stubbornly high, I think the advice would be for the consumers, an average person, to go a little easy on spending and start saving a little more.
When we're talking about a rainy day fund, we know, let's put some numbers on that. I mean, what is that, like enough spending for 3 months, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months?
Like the people differ on this, but I still go by the very conventional number, the 6 months of your monthly expenses. I think you should build up enough savings so that even if you run out of a job, I mean, even if you don't have a job for 6 months, I think you should be able to get by. So my advice would be having 6 months of expenditure as saved up somewhere, which you can tap in case like things go really bad.
Sure. I mean, even if somebody loses a job, it's going to take at least 6 months to find a new one and start making money. So
yeah, that's my Khalil. So the number 6 months is based on the idea that like it's typically like it takes like 3 to 6 months to get a job, 6 months more on the outside. Of course, in some cases, it may be even longer, but we have some help on the social security side. So like, so given all that, we advise that, okay, I think 6 months is a very good number.
Here's the follow-up question to that. You put that money somewhere. Is it safer at the bank? Can it be in a checking or savings, or should you have it at home somewhere?
No, Khalil, absolutely. I mean, it has to be with the bank. I mean, it shouldn't be at home. And as far as all these bank savings accounts are concerned, checking accounts are concerned, these are all FDIC insured. So as far as an average person is concerned, we are not going to be putting more than $250,000, which in a particular bank. So as long as the numbers are like very modest, like in terms of a few $1,000s or maybe tens of thousands of dollars, I think the best place to park your money is in savings accounts, which are all federally insured, and they're earning very good interest rate actually. So
That's true.
Which is a big positive. Yeah.
And keeping it in the bank also, it's just, I mean, what if they have a fire at home? What if you have, something like that? It's just even though if you take more than $10,000, I think, is it 10,000? You'll be reported to the federal government.
I think it's the bank. They have to do some paperwork if you bring in like more than $10,000 or more. I mean,
Is that something that has always been there, or that's something since?
That, to the best of my knowledge, has always been there.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if you bring in $10,000 or more of cash, the bank is supposed to report to the IRS and to the banking authorities, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Now, the 250 guarantee at the bank, this has been around for some time. I've heard some talk that this number could be raised. Is that true?
No, Khalil, I think this number used to be like $100,000 until, if I remember correctly, until the financial crisis, the last financial crisis that hit US 2008, 2009, when President Obama was around, and it was temporarily raised to 250. But that temporarily raised to 250 became permanent. So, and I think 250 is quite a generous number. So it's very unlikely that this would be raised any further. I mean, you can make an argument for reducing it actually rather than increasing it. But 250 is a very sizable number.
Yeah.
So I don't see that this number going up. And for most people, as I said, like I think 250 would work with just one bank. And you can always spread your money in more than one bank. Then this number
or more than one account.
Yes, you can open up like savings account in more than one bank. So then the 250 number, like which is actually one bank, becomes even bigger. So you can multiply that. Yeah,
absolutely. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know about the economy?
Khalil, I think you've done a great job in asking questions. So I think in 15, 20 minutes, I mean, you're a great
Packed a lot of stuff in there.
and you put a lot of time in your homework. So
sure. The idea is, I mean, these are complex issues, and my idea is always to explain it to the average person as much as possible, so they can understand really what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Safe travel. We'll talk to you soon. Hopefully next time when we talk to you, the government, the economy will be doing much, much better.
Much, much better. Thank you for having me, Khalil. It's always my
Absolutely.
pleasure.
Thank you. We're going to take a
Thank
short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bonham, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Dana, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Welcome back and thank you for being with us. I want to thank Dr. Singh for being with us this morning earlier, talking about the economy. We're going to be shifting to a different topic, and now we're going to be talking about deer hunting. Our community is big on deer hunting, and the firearm season has started. I believe that a different hunting method started earlier. And with us this morning is Chad Stewart. He's a deer biologist with the state of Michigan. Thank you for being with us.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. So there are different kinds of hunting methods, and what started this week is the firearm.
Correct. Yeah. Firearm season started November 15th. It runs through November 30th, and it is the most popular season in which deer hunters go out in. We expect probably over 400,000 deer hunters to participate in the firearm season alone. The firearm season will have about 50% of our total deer harvest for the entire year included over this 2 weeks. So it's a really important time for deer hunting.
Yeah. And what do we need to know about firearm hunting?
The main thing about firearms hunting is, one is that's the season that you are required to wear hunter orange. So anytime that you have a firearm or any type of similar weapon, there is a requirement to wear hunter's orange when you go out. So that just is improves safety and visibility, and tries to prevent somebody being mistaken for a deer or anything else. So that's the primary thing. The other thing that we really focus on with firearms season is again safety and knowing your target and what you're shooting at it, and specifically what's behind what you're shooting at. So those are the really main emphasis points when we talk about firearm season here in Michigan.
Yeah, firearms means bullets. Is that correct?
Correct. It means a gun. And in southern Michigan, most hunters use a shotgun with what's called a slug bullet, which is a larger piece of metal that's projected from the muzzle. And then in northern Michigan, a lot more hunters can use rifles, which is the bullet that travels a lot faster and typically breaks apart a little bit upon impact. But either case, both are legal for firearms, and there are restrictions in terms of what type of firearm can be used based on where you're hunting. So it's always important to check with our hunting regulation summary book to make sure that the weapon that you have is legal to be used in the area where you're hunting.
And we're talking about the restriction, certain areas I can use shotguns, and certain areas I can use bullets.
Yeah. So, for example, in southern Michigan, which basically is every place below like the Saginaw Bay area and further south, including the Thumb area, it's called our limited firearm zone. And what that means is that there are certain restrictions on the types of rifles that can be used. So typically, some of the more commonly used rifles, such as things like 270, 243, things like that, cannot be used because they are their projectile, their bullets travel too fast or too far, and our law enforcement agency has determined that they are not safe to be used in southern Michigan, where there's a lot more people residing. So those are legal weapons further north in the state, but further south there are more restrictions.
And for us to find this information, do we log into or any place that sells weapons have them, or?
Yeah, any place that sells licenses is a good place to start. And most sporting goods stores. We also put out a book that is available online. It's called a Regulation Summary Digest, and we have a lot of really good information on there. So you can pick that up at any retailer that sells licenses or a sporting goods store, or you can find it online. And the best way to do that, honestly, is just to go to our website, which is michigan.gov/deer, and we should have that information available there.
Yeah. What do I need to go hunting for deer? I need to know what kind of weapons I want, the area I'm going to. Do I need a license? What else do I need?
Yeah, good point. Absolutely, you need a hunting license. And that's a requirement. And to get a hunting license, you have to first go through what's called a hunter safety education course. Those, again, we have available online, and you have to participate in part of a field day. But if you haven't done that and you're still interested in going out, you can purchase what's called an apprentice license. And the apprentice license allows you to purchase that license, but you have to go with a licensed hunter or a sort of a mentor that goes out with you. But it's a really great way to get introduced to the sport of deer hunting without having to go through the obligations of going through the hunter safety course first. But after you go through 2 years of getting apprentice licenses, then we do ask that you go through the hunter safety course if you want to continue doing it on your own. But you definitely need a license to go out beforehand. Make sure that you have your gun, your legal gun and weapon, and make sure that you have practiced with it and you're proficient with it, because we want to focus on taking deer ethically and quickly. And then the access issue in terms of where you're hunting. So make sure you have permission to be on private land where you're hunting. And we do have public land that's readily available too, that anybody can hunt on if you don't have access to private land.
So are the rules the same, whether it is a private land or public land?
For the most part, yes. In the past, we used to have differences in types of licenses that can be used, but we've done away with a lot of that. So certainly if you have any one of our main licenses, which we call our deer license or a deer combination license, both of those are eligible to be used on private or public land. And the same with what we call our universal antlerless license, which only allows you to take an antlerless deer, but both those can be used on private and public land as well.
Absolutely. And you said hunting ethically. What does that mean?
Yeah, so when we talk about hunting deer, that is something that I think a lot of hunters strive for. Is if the deer is coming in and they're going to shoot it, they want to shoot it in what we call the vitals. So we want to make sure that the bullet hits the heart or the lungs, and if you do that, the deer will expire very quickly. If you're hitting it in a leg or in the stomach, it might not kill the deer right away. And we certainly don't want our deer to suffer. We want to try to, when we shoot it, we want to put an ethical, quick shot on it to kill it quickly and make sure that it's not going to suffer.
I hope that all the people who go out to hunt, they're gonna eat it. They're not just gonna leave it there.
Yeah, I think most people that do go out to hunt are going out for venison. Obviously, some people want to go out and get a buck that has antlers for some sort of a trophy as well. But I think by and large, a majority of the hunters that go out are interested in getting the venison from it. And there's a lot of places to know how to do that. And if you certainly don't know how to cut up and process the deer yourself, there's a lot of deer processors available that for a fee you can go out and have that deer cut up for you and made into steaks and different choice cuts.
Mm-hmm. And what am I hunting? Is it male, female? Is there a restriction on age?
Both sexes are eligible to be shot. There are some types of restrictions based on the license you get. So we break our deer down into antlered and antlerless, which is different than male and female. Now, almost every antlered animal you see on the landscape will be a male, but not every antlerless deer you see on the landscape will be a female, because that in some cases you have a male who was born this year that hasn't grown his antlers yet, and we call them a button buck. They are still considered antlerless and able to be taken on an antlerless license. But if you have an antlerless license, you can only shoot an antlerless deer. You cannot shoot an antler deer. But if you are hunting anywhere in the lower peninsula and you have a deer license or a deer combination license, you can shoot either sex.
Either one, yeah. Yes. And is there any restriction on what to do with the like how to deal with it after you shoot it? You have to empty the stomach, do anything, or this is just left to the individual?
There's no requirement. Most hunters typically remove the insides soon after recovering the animal. So they remove the intestines, the stomach, the lungs, and they'll cut out the entire digestive system. And that does two things. One, it reduces the weight of the animal. So when you actually drag it out, it's much easier to drag out. But two, it helps the animal to cool down much quicker. And when you have that carcass cool down quicker, it helps to preserve the quality of the meat better.
The
So
taste of meat.
yes.
Yeah.
So if you keep that body heat in there, it can actually spoil some of the muscle in the meat, and that would compromise the taste, certainly. So a good practice to do is, once you recover the animal, is to remove the insides and try to get it cooled down as quickly as possible, and then obviously to try to get it to a processor or to cut it up yourself and preserve the quality of that meat.
Right. And I can leave the inside where I shot the deer.
Yes, yeah, the guts and the stomach and everything else can be left on the ground, provided you're not hunting on a private area that asked you to collect it with you, which is very rare, but it does happen. You can leave that outside, and that's a really good treat for a lot of different scavengers, especially with winter coming. So it typically gets cleaned up by other animals very quickly.
Yeah. If you're not really going for trophies, is it the younger the better? Meat quality?
I've heard that quite a bit. I think a lot of it has to do with your preparation, like how quickly how good of a shot you make on it, how clean you clean the animal, and how you prepare the meat, I think is also important. But generally speaking, a younger animal does tend to have a little bit more tender meat to it. And might be, in some cases, better tasting. Certainly, you won't get as much meat because they're smaller animals, but in terms of quality, I think that ranks right up there with anything else.
How does the quality of the shot affects the taste? You said the quality of the shot.
Yeah, so deer, for example, deer are what we call ruminants. So they have 4 different chambers in their stomach, and the first chamber is sort of meant as a holding chamber, where the deer will consume a lot of vegetation, hold it there, and then they go off and lay down, and then they regurgitate and continue to chew to improve some of the digestion. If you hit a deer too far back, you can actually hit some of that stomach and expel some of that rumen material, which is very smelly. And if it certainly takes a long time for you to recover, or the temperature is a little bit higher, some of that taste and smell can kind of permeate into the meat that you hope to recover. So trying to avoid shots like that, and that's why we emphasize a clean, ethical shot in the heart or the lungs, avoiding those that stomach tissue can really actually go a long way in helping with the meat quality.
Absolutely. And how is there restrictions on how many deer can I take?
Well, you can not take more deer than the number of licenses that you purchase. But in Michigan, we're quite liberal with the number of tags that you can purchase. You can purchase up to 10 antlerless licenses. You can also purchase your what's called your combination license, which is 2 licenses. So at most, almost any hunter in Michigan can take up to 12 deer in a single hunting season.
Yeah. Do I have to report?
Yes, great point. We do have a requirement now. This is our second year where we are requiring any hunter who's successful in taking a deer to report their harvest. It only takes about 3 to 5 minutes. It's very quick. We just ask you to link your license number with the type of deer that you shot and the location, and maybe a few other general questions. The best way to do that is online at michigan.gov/DNR harvest report, or we also have a mobile app that we put on our smartphone. You can look this up. It's just Michigan DNR Hunt Fish, and you can link all of your licenses and information to that, and you can report it right off of that app.
Why is that important?
That's really important because it gets the information to us as a management agency in terms of what the hunters are taking. And then we can use that information and measure it and track it between years. So, last year we had over 300,000 deer reported by hunters taken through our mobile app and our online harvest reporting program. If that number varies a lot this year, say it's down to 250 or it's up to 350,000, we'll have a better understanding of how deer populations are trending in the state. And then we can also break that down locally by county as well. So it really helps us to identify some of the information we need to manage it, to better make recommendations into the future to continue to have really good management of our white-tailed deer.
How much is a license?
Licenses are about $20 per deer. So a deer license and an antlerless license are each $20. A combination license is $40, but you're getting 2 licenses with that. And then you also are required to purchase what's called a base license. And a base license is $11. It allows you to go out and do other hunting as well, specifically for small game. So if you wanted to go out and hunt squirrel or rabbits, you need a base license to go out and do that. So you'll have to have all those purchases. So minimum, someone can go deer hunting for $31.
That's not bad, actually.
Yeah, it's been steady that way for at least 9 to 10 years, where the cost of so many other things is going up. We've had our license sales be very stable.
Yeah. Can I hunt in my backyard?
It depends. If you are using a bow or archery equipment, there's no minimum distance that you have to be from a dwelling or a house that somebody's living in. So yes, you can. I would urge caution when doing so, because especially with archery equipment, the deer often run and can run very far. So you need to make sure that you have access to trail that deer and permission to go across a lot of properties to track it and recover that deer. So if you have in a neighborhood setting and you're afraid that deer could go over onto someone else's property, it's probably not the best interest to do that. For firearms, it's not wise to do it from your backyard unless you are certain to be, I believe it's 150 yards away from the nearest dwelling. So with that, you need it's called a safety zone, and you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, if you have a small farm, you live on a few acres, then it's okay.
Yes. If you have a lot of property, a lot of acreage, then it's okay. But if you're in a suburban setting or an urban setting, it's not going to be allowed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how healthy are the deer these days? Are they pretty healthy, good meat, good source?
Yeah, deer in Michigan are generally very healthy. There's almost no concerns with consuming any of the venison that you're going to have. There are specific locations in south central Michigan, southwestern Michigan, where we have something called chronic wasting disease. It's still very rare disease to discover in white-tailed deer. But if you do harvest an animal in an area that's known to have chronic wasting disease, it's recommended by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the World Health Organization to have your deer tested for the disease before consuming it. And there's no known link of the disease and humans. It's not known to be transmissible to humans, but it's in the same family of diseases as what's called mad cow disease, which was an epidemic in the 1990s in England. So even though it's a completely different disease, it's in the same family of diseases. Out of an abundance of caution, the health organizations have recommended positive deer not be consumed if it's known to have CWD. Additionally, we have. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Where do you test it?
Good question. We have testing locations on our website, michigan.gov/CWD, and there's a link there. It says "Test My Deer." Typically, we have what we call drop boxes. So you remove the head of the animal, and at the base of the head are two sets of tissues called lymph nodes that we remove and test for chronic wasting disease. But you can fill out a quick form, drop the head in a drop box in a known location where we have CWD, and it gets sent to our lab, and we can submit a response to you within a couple weeks to let you know if the deer tested positive or not.
Okay, that's only done if you're in that area, but if you're not in that area, you should be
correct.
fine.
Correct. And we've done a lot of surveillance for chronic wasting disease in the southeastern part of our state and have not detected chronic wasting disease in any of those counties. So while you can never say it's never there,
sure,
the likelihood of it being there is very, very small. So I would have no concern with going out and shooting a deer and eating it without having a test.
Absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know?
No, I just really encourage anybody that's going out or wanting to go about doing it, just to go to our website, again, michigan.gov/deer, or to look up our what's called our hunting regulation summary online, or pick up a booklet at a sporting goods store.
I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Thank you. I loved it. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with US Arab Radio. And I want to thank my guest before, Dr. Singh and Mr. Stewart, talking about the economy and deer hunting. And we're going to continue with a different topic. Our community is succeeding in many different ways, and we're always proud with our community members as they are either appointed or they attain success. And this morning we're going to be talking to one of our community members we are so proud of, who was appointed as a judge yesterday. And congratulations. We have with us Lawrence Elassal. Thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations.
Thank you, Khalil. I appreciate you having me, and thank you as always.
Absolutely. And this is very exciting, and it's very inspirational as well. Now, did you always want to be a judge, and what's the journey, and how did it feel to be a judge today?
Well, starting with how did it feel, I have to tell you, it was probably the first time I realized that it happened. I think when you go through this journey, as you said, in this process, it's overwhelming. It's a lot of dedication. It's something that you have to just truly have a passion for, and something of you're going to do whatever it is in a good way to get there. So it's something I've always wanted to do. It's something I've aspired to do. As you said, you brought up a great point. A lot of what has inspired me is some of our judges in our own community, right? Some that have started with no base and no foundation and achieved that seat, and it inspired me as well as a young attorney.
Absolutely. How long have you been an attorney?
A little more than 15 years. It feels like a couple, but it went fast.
Yeah. What kind of a part of the law you practice?
I focus mainly on criminal law. I do a lot of criminal law. I've done criminal defense my entire career, and also family law. So it's kind of a interesting dynamic to have both ends of a spectrum. But I've always enjoyed both and gravitated towards helping families with issues and helping people when they get into bad situations.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit about your background?
My background is I'm born and raised in Dearborn. I grew up actually in the restaurant business, which is interesting, and I speak of that because that was a big factor of my family pushing me to go to school. Right? You always want your kids to do better, and that was my family's focus and push. And initially, I fought that, but focused on school and went to Michigan State University College of Law, went to law school, and took the bar. And then I started doing some insurance defense work. I worked in civil litigation. And then eventually, interestingly, I went to school to not be in business for myself, right? To get out of being an entrepreneur. And I ended up coming back. I guess that's where my heart was, and opening my own practice with some really good attorneys. And I've been in Dearborn for most of my career, right here in the city. So
wonderful. Now, did your family own restaurants?
Yeah, that's what I grew up in. We had, a small Coney Island, nothing big, nothing fancy. Just, my hours were open to close. So,
I think we've all been through restaurant works. I remember being a waiter when I was going to school in Florida. So I was a waiter at a 5-star restaurant down there, and I enjoyed it, but it's not something I wanted to do all my life.
Yeah, but after a while, you realize we got to do something more. So yes,
absolutely. And the community is growing, and we have a lot more lawyers now than we did before, which is a really good thing. We have a lot more judges than we did before.
Yes,
which is really a sign. I mean, we're talking about the past 20 years.
Yes.
Which is really good, So tell us a little bit about the process. That somebody was talking to you. Did you express an interest to become a judge? How did that work?
Yeah, there is definitely an expression of interest. Like I said, it's always been a passion and something, you dream of, right? So once you start speaking to some people that, just like what you're doing, you're asking me, that's what I did. I asked some others that have went through it. I asked some judges. I asked some people that are involved in that arena and was directed on what to do. And in all honesty, it's nothing you can truly you plan for it, but really it's going to come a time where when you decide to really focus on it, all your past accomplishments, all your history, everything is going to be something that you draw upon to go through this process. And the process it's quite lengthy. It's quite it's a big requirement. You're doing a lot of interviewing. You're putting a lot of information together. You're submitting your application in addition to letters of support, to your credentials, to even writing samples, right? You're asked to submit some writing samples. So they're really looking at every single aspect of who you are, from your personal life to your business life to your legal life to even how you conduct yourself as an attorney. That's a big part that's going to be reviewed. So to stress the importance of being professional and being respectful is one of the most important things, because they're going to look into every single thing in your background and cases you've dealt with, and other people in our profession are going to be called upon to ask about, hey, what are your dealings with Lawrence? What you guys were, in opposition on a case. How was it dealing with him? So all these things are going to come to light.
Sure. It's a feeling. Is it like a feeling that now I am ready to rule on cases instead of defending cases? Now I have enough knowledge that I can really make a decision on these cases. You get to that point before you start approaching people. I want to be a judge.
Yes. I mean, I think you get to a point in your career where you have that confidence, you have some experience, you feel that you're able to take that next step, which is a large step, because, I always explain to people that when you're a defense attorney or you're a plaintiff's attorney, whatever side you're on, you fight 100% for that client, right?
Sure.
It's just like being in a real estate transaction, right? If you're representing the buyer or seller, your heart and everything is all in on one side. But the change is you now have to be a neutral person that considers both sides, right? So it sounds easy, but that's the hardest part in this. And the reason I have a little experience in that is I was the magistrate for Dearborn Heights for a couple of years, right? So in addition to just tickets, I would do small claims cases.
Sure.
And those cases, while they were a small value as far as a number amount, the people that would come before you are two neighbors, two people from the community who this is the most important thing to them, right? So that was the hardest thing ever, coming from a defense attorney to come into a courtroom and have to really look at both sides and then make a tough decision. So I don't know if you ever have all the experience or all the knowledge, but you do the absolute best you can, right? And over time, you become more experienced and a little more better at making those tough decisions.
Absolutely. Before I used to work for the Ann Arbor News, and before that I worked for the Bowman Enterprise in Texas. I covered courts for 4 years.
Nice.
So I was in court every day, listening to decisions and presentations, and and seeing judges being referee, basically.
Yes.
Make sure that nobody is stepping, overboard or anything like that, which is really good. So today is your first day?
Well, I will not. I'll take the bench December 4th, which is the first Monday in December. So I was sworn in yesterday, which means I can officially now start, shadowing and getting my mentorship. We also are required to go to a judge's school, which is going to be interesting. I'm not sure exactly what that requires, but I'm excited about it. So your first few months are kind of shadowing, and someone is helping you. Okay. So they feel you're comfortable enough to take over your own docket. So there's a whole training process, which I'm thankful for, right? So
absolutely.
Yes.
How long is the judge school?
That I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if it's a semester, or I'm not sure. We're gonna find all this out.
I'm sure you're happy and you're gonna do pretty well.
Yes. Thank you.
We're so proud. What's your message for our young people?
You have to.
I know you don't want to see them in court.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. The best thing that I could tell someone is, look, your future and your career start really from right now, right? Because like I said, you have to deal with people respectfully in any situation, because it's always going to be looked back upon. That's just the reality of the process. It also, more importantly, is the way you deal with people and clients and even other attorneys who are going against you. You have to find that good balance of being respectful, but fighting like being a very strong advocate.
Sure.
And I think that's the most valuable thing you can do for your client and for yourself. But just being involved in a community, that's probably the most important thing, is because that's who's going to support you and that's who you're going to give back to. So it's this continual giving back that makes us all better. Just like you said, this is really a shining moment for our community. It's not just me, right?
Absolutely.
This was a big effort. This was the whole village coming together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now you were appointed. Normally judges are elected.
Correct.
And appointed as a district court judge, which is like Wayne County, right?
Yeah. So if a judge retires early or leaves their position early for, a number of reasons, but generally when a judge retires and they haven't completed their term, it leaves a partial term open where the governor of the state who is able to appoint someone to fulfill that remainder of the term. And that's the process that I went through, which is a whole process. It's extensive interviewing. It's extensive qualifying. There's a lot of it involved in it. And I was appointed for the circuit court, which is downtown in Wayne County.
Circuit court, not a district. District court is a city. Circuit court is the
Correct.
county.
Correct.
Yes.
So
wonderful. And which means, how long do you have? 1 year?
Yes, for this term, Judge Bill, who vacated his seat a little early for retirement, it was about 18 months. So from when I start, there'll be about a year left, because remember, the process itself takes quite a long time to get through and get qualified. Sure.
Which means you need to start preparing your campaign as you take the bench.
Yes. So it's an interesting dynamic. Here we go. We've achieved a wonderful success for all of us, for the community, and now we have to start planning for the future, which means this is the reality of it. You have to keep that community support and make sure that your name stays good and you have a good campaign.
Yeah, considering the current political situation, it's going to give you even additional zing there to really, because this could dissuade our people from going to the polls, and we want them to go to the polls. We want them to, explain to them that if you're unhappy with one item of the ballot, that you shouldn't really ignore the others, because local stuff are very important.
Yes, I think you said it perfectly. This is a time more than ever where we have to vote. We have to stay involved. We can't just withdraw and say, I'm upset with what's happening and I'm disappointed with some of the decisions that are being made, so I'm just going to withdraw completely. This is our time to truly be even more involved. And if you disagree with a specific person or a specific candidate that has maybe made a decision against, our community or our interest, then you just vote for the other person. That's how you rectify it. That's how you really have a voice in this. And that's how you make a good change. But like you said, if you completely say, I am done with this party or I'm done with this ticket because of what the certain people did, that's wrong, because then everyone else in line who is doing good things and fighting for our community and trying to, move our community forward is going to suffer as well. And then it's going to be different people in there in addition to the people at the top, which is, never
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. Nothing gives us as a community political weight other than voting. Voting is very important. I hope more people would vote, and definitely will vote for you in the coming election a year from now or a year and a half from now. So I want to thank you so much for being with us. Congratulations. We are so proud as a community and as a county.
Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood 734-744-9796.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you to Dr. Singh. Thank you to Lawrence Elassal. Congratulations to him. And thank you to Chad Stewart for being on the show. Thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye now.